It's Thursday, May 24. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. Ramp it up, fix it up. That was the theme for this year's Labor Day projects. The focus was on health centers and schools. Here are some highlights from projects captured by our team. Work at Cumberland Health Center included the refurbishing of a building to create additional space to accommodate patients. Health centers also benefited from general beautification and upgrading to improve conditions for medical staff and clients.
This initiative will continue.
Will continue. Certainly the KSAMC is quite pleased about it. We are energized about this project. We love the project, and also it's enhancing the health facilities that we have, especially for children. So we are committed to it. We have a vision to make Kingston the commercial and cultural capital of the Caribbean. We believe part of that is increasing the services we offer. The level of the service must be raised, and so this is also a step in the direction of fulfilling our vision to make Kingston the pearl of the Antilles.
Several schools were outfitted with ramps and other features to make them more accessible and user-friendly for physically challenged persons. Minister of Finance and Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark, has announced that the rate of poverty has fallen significantly to a 6-year low of 17%. In a statement to Parliament Tuesday, Dr. Clark noted that the Jamaica survey of living conditions shows that poverty has fallen.
Poverty in an absolute sense declined from 21.2% for calendar year 2015 to 17.1% in calendar year 2016. A fall of 4 percentage points, which represents a 19% drop in the incidence of poverty, the largest annual reduction in 10 years. So just for the sake of emphasis, Mr. Speaker, the rate of poverty, the incidence, fell from 21 to 17, and that fall of 4 percentage points represents a 19% drop in the incidence of poverty, which must be considered good news for all Jamaicans and considered good news by all members of this honorable House.
The finance minister said that the Andrew Holness-led administration is serious about the reduction of poverty, having increased the allocation of school feeding through PATH by 47% and with its focus on job creation.
That increase in social protection represents in absolute Jamaican dollar terms more than the aggregate increase by comparison of 2012 to 2015 combined. In addition, the government is putting in place, and this is always a challenging thing to do, but the government is putting in place a graduation program for PATH, which will allocate resources to the neediest families while providing training to facilitate an exit from social assistance support, so more needy people can benefit.
The government is moving to spend $846 million to build 3 new courtrooms, 15 judges' chambers, and expand the registry at the Court of Appeal in downtown Kingston as part of a wider plan to improve the country's court infrastructure. Minister of Justice Delroy Chuck made the disclosure during his contribution to this week's 2018-2019 sectoral debate in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. He said the country will witness the new face of justice when the ministry starts the design and, hopefully, the construction of several judicial complexes across the island.
When you visit St. James, St. Anne, Mandeville, these are courts, Mr. Speaker, that really must be abandoned. They are courts that it's difficult to do justice in these courts. The conditions are just not appropriate. And I hope, Mr. Speaker, Cabinet approving that we can start the design and construction of new court complexes in St. James, St. Anne, Manchester, Trelawney, and Spanish Town. Plus, Mr. Speaker, We hope to establish 5 family courts.
He again said the government would be amending the constitution for retired judges to sit beyond age 70 on an as-needed basis. Human rights advocate Susan Goff says the government's move to implement live streaming of select criminal and civil court proceedings is a step in the right direction, especially for cases that are of particular national interest. Goff told the press that there are certain obvious cases which immediately stand out as cases that the public would have an interest in, and those would be suitable for cases for live streaming, such as the upcoming constitutional challenge regarding the National Identification System, popularly known as the NIDS Bill. She says that would be of great benefit to the broader public to be able to hear the arguments that are put forward on both sides regarding that matter. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck, in his contribution to the 2018-2019 sectoral debate in the House on Tuesday, reiterated that live streaming is on the way. A woman is head of the Police Federation for the first time in that body's 75-year history. Corporal Arlene McBean was elected chairman of the Jamaica Police Federation at their 75th conference in Oteria, St. Anne this week. The federation represents rank-and-file members of the constabulary. Corporal McBean is attached to the motorized patrol division of the constabulary. She recently emerged as an articulate spokesperson for the Federation. She has been centrally involved in promoting training for members of the Federation. She replaces Sergeant Cecil McCullough, who was interim chairman. Mayor of Montego Bay, Homer Davis, says the St. James Municipal Corporation is not opposed to new requests by business operators seeking an increase in the closing hours under the state of emergency in the parish. Small businesses and event promoters have been lobbying the mayor and security forces for an adjustment. A nightclub operator was fined $50,000 last week after he pleaded guilty to operating his establishment beyond the stipulated closing hours. In regional news, our first stop is Barbados, where the 2 main political parties held rallies on Wednesday night to woo voters in a final push ahead of the general elections. For more details, we join this report.
The 2 main political parties will stage their last rallies in the capital on Wednesday night, with the message no doubt being, get out and vote as early as possible. In his party's last political broadcast on state-owned radio and television, Prime Minister Frendel Stewart defended the stewardship of his administration over the last 5 years, telling Barbadians that difficult situations had required hard choices. Stewart, who is leading the incumbent Democratic Labour Party, the DLP, into the general election, said he has had to navigate a difficult global economic environment, but that despite such a situation, the policies of his administration were now bearing fruit.
The Democratic Labour Party has been open and transparent with you. Difficult times require hard choices. We are nearly out of the woods, but we still have some work to do together. I urge you to reflect deeply on the promises glibly made against the clear realities facing Barbados. Show that your vote and support cannot be bought with tempting goodies of short-term duration. Understand the need for sacrifices necessary to lay the foundation for your children and grandchildren.
But, as it has been the case during the campaign, the leader of the main opposition Barbados Labour Party, Mia Mottley, is not buying the DLP's position of an improving socio-economic environment. While Prime Minister Stewart was delivering his broadcast, the BLP leader was addressing party supporters at Eagle Hall, southeast of the capital, reminding them of the need to reject the DLP that has been in power for the last 10 years.
The rest of our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean know that when they have a strong Barbados, they have a strong Caribbean. And they know that something is wrong. And they can't vote if they're not living here for the 3 years. But they are urging on Barbadians to go ahead and make sure Barbados turns back up to the Caribbean to play its part. And it's up to us. It's up.
But can Prime Minister Stewart follow his regional colleagues, Keith Mitchell in Grenada and Gaston Brown in Antigua and Barbuda, and be returned to office with a commanding mandate? Peter Wickham is the director of the Caribbean Development Research Services Cadres, a regional pollster.
If you're going to say that the landslides in both of them could be repeated in Barbados, I'm more comfortable with that analysis. But the idea that because Prime Minister Mitchell, Prime Minister Brown were able to retain office, that Prime Minister Stewart will, is not necessarily the case. Because I think if you look at the leaders individually, they're very different people. Prime Minister Stewart is very much of an outlier in relation to the character type of Caribbean Prime Ministers. He has a type that is similar to perhaps Prime Minister Baldwin Spencer, and Prime Minister before Dr. Mitchell would have come. He has that kind of character, and I don't believe that he is necessarily in either PM Brown or PM Mitchell's category as far as popularity is concerned.
So you say he's not one of those with the charisma?
Yes, so he's more a Tillman Thomas than a Keith Mitchell.
So what are Barbadians saying about Thursday's general election? Are they in favor of changing, or will they continue with the Democratic Labour Party?
BLP.
Not sure right now. For the winner tomorrow.
And for my new leader, first female Prime Minister, Mayor Amar Martley.
Yeah, he wants to be born for the beast. Nobody about the beast.
But I know that my God is in control, and what he do is well done, and he know the exact leader that he will put there tomorrow.
So the stage is set for Thursday's general election. The question remains, who will emerge victorious? This is Peter Richards for CMC News in Bridgetown.
In other news, Trinidad's Chief Justice Ivor Archie is planning to go to the Privy Council to challenge a Court of Appeal ruling that the country's law association can continue its investigation into misconduct allegations against him. On Tuesday, the Court of Appeal overturned the High Court's ruling that the Law Association's probe was unlawful and unconstitutional. Faye Richard of TV6 News has the latest developments.
The Court of Appeal allowing the Law Association's appeal and agreeing to dismiss Chief Justice Ivor Archie's application for judicial review of the association's investigation. Justice Peter Jamida reflecting in his written judgment, "For me, this has been a most difficult matter to adjudicate, to sit in judgment of one's own Chief Justice." The ruling means the Law Association is allowed to continue an investigation into alleged misconduct by CJ Archie. The association was trying to determine whether the CJ's alleged interventions in HDC housing allocations and in judges' private security arrangements warranted his removal. Justice Jamida explained the thinking behind his decision. He wrote, "So unless what the LATT has undertaken constitutes the offence of scandalizing the court, in this case scandalizing the CJ or his office, or is personally defamatory of the CJ, the Constitution declares that the LATT's fundamental right to express itself and to actively participate in upholding the rule of law permits its investigation and exposure of judicial misconduct. There is no justification for curtailing the LATT's fundamental rights to freedom of thought and expression." Acting Chief Justice Alan Mendonça said nothing in the Legal Profession Act barred the association from investigating. Justice Nolan Barrow concluded that Section 137 of the Constitution protects the Chief Justice from interference by the executive, but does not absolve him from public scrutiny. Justice Barrow also commented on the CJ's silence in the face of grave allegations. He contended, "In my judgment, the nature of these allegations cast serious slurs on the office of the CJ. They required strong and authoritative responses. Nothing of the kind has been forthcoming. When a response was in fact given, it was tepid and inadequate in the extreme. The longer the allegations went undenied, the greater the damage to the office and the greater the negative impact on the administration of justice." As for the Chief Justice's attempt to stymie the investigation, Justice Barrow questioned, "The submissions of the Chief Justice are unduly restrictive of the rights of the public. They bear the hallmarks of an attempt to suppress the facts. If the allegations are false, as the respondent contends, then why stop the inquiry?" Despite the judge's ruling, the Law Association won't be able to restart its investigation right away. The CJ's lawyers want to appeal to the Privy Council. The court will meet next Monday to determine whether it will grant permission for that final appeal. Until that's resolved, the court ordered a temporary freeze on the association's probe.
Some 1,000 junior athletes from across all 14 parishes will take over the National Stadium this weekend as they compete for their respective parishes in the 35th staging of the JTA Sagicor National Athletic Championships. With the coveted title of Parish Champions up for grabs, the teams are in preparation mode as they get ready for the two-day meet starting Friday. Individual prizes, including champion boy and girl, will be given. Jamaica's Olympic champion sprint queen Elaine Thompson is set to headline a star-studded women's 100-meter field at the IAAF Lausanne Diamond League meet on July 5. Thompson will line up alongside American world champion Tori Bowie, as well as Dutch star Daphne Schiffers at the opening Diamond League meet in Doha. Thompson last competed at the meet in 2016 when she sped to a decisive 10.78 victory in the event. And that's the news. Do stay with us. The weather report is next. This is PBCJ's weather report. Thanks so much for staying with us. Let's start with a look at what's happening in Kingston. Right now, the temperature is just about 29 degrees Celsius, and we're seeing a forecast of cloudy conditions, but it should be pretty sunny out today. Humidity is at 84%. Let's take a look at what could be happening over the next 7 days. For Kingston, we're looking at a 10% chance of rainfall on Friday. We could be getting scattered showers on Saturday and full-fledged showers on Sunday. We're looking at temperatures between 24 and 29 degrees Celsius over the next 7 days for Kingston. Over there in Montego Bay, humidity is at 70% and wind speed northeast at 11 kilometers per hour, but it should be pretty sunny for the rest of the day. Let's take a look at what could be happening over the weekend going into next week. Warm temperatures between 23 and 32 degrees Celsius. We could be getting some rainfall on the weekend though. We're looking at sunny skies for Friday. Across the island today, in the parishes, we're looking at cloudy conditions for most parishes, but warm temperatures between 29 and 32 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow, though, going into the weekend, we could be getting some cloudy conditions. We're looking at a possibility of rainfall over there in Maypen. We're seeing warm temperatures between 29 and 32 degrees Celsius, with Black River St. Elizabeth forecast the highest temperature forecast for tomorrow. Regionally, we're looking at several countries with warm temperatures between 28 that is, and 29 degrees Celsius, so it's going to be pretty warm out going into the weekend. We're looking at a possibility of rainfall sweeping several countries going into the northern end of the Caribbean. We're looking at rainfall possibly for Antigua over there in Cuba as well. Cloudy conditions are forecast for Nassau, Bahamas. In our travel planner, we're looking at the United States. Minimum temperature 13 degrees Celsius with a high 32 degrees Celsius for the areas on your screen. We're looking at Los Angeles, Miami, New York, and Atlanta. We're looking at a possibility of rainfall for Miami and Atlanta, but it's going to be predominantly sunny for Los Angeles and New York. That's it for the weather forecast. Thanks so much for making it PBCJ. Remember, we are the People's Station.